It's my favourite time of the season. I know a lot of you agree. We've had the first monument, we've had the first semi-classics on the cobblestones, but now it's time for Holy Week.
Holy Week being the 8 days that take us through the Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix. If you are not already counting down the days, you should be. The men's and women's Tour of Flanders are taking place this coming Sunday.
It's going to be fantastic. Coming up, all the details around this year's routes, which do have some subtle changes to them, and a look at how the races are likely to unfold amongst the superstars taking part. But first up, as ever, we're going to remind you of what happened 12 months ago.
Oh, last minute ditch. Oh,
No
way.
You can't keep a good man down. Look at the use of anger there by Mathieu van der Poel. I've had enough of this. And right now he's driving it on. This is absolutely spectacular. Pogacar staying with him. This is a phenomenal display. Well, there he is. He's got enough time to celebrate, to thank the team, and to drink in exactly what he has achieved. A young man with still a mighty future and already a mighty past, rolled together in a beautiful package. Oh, that is superb!
We've seen this so much through the history of the Koppenberg.
That is phenomenal. 3 riders from the same team in a breakaway of 4 riders.
She's absolutely powering away with 18 kilometres to go.
Lions of Flanders are being waved at the Belgian. She's almost got that look of disbelief. The confidence, though, for Lotte Kopecky. She's going to enjoy this moment. It's another win for Belgium, 2 in a row for Lotte Kopecky.
Tadej Pogacar becoming the first Tour de France winner to also win the Tour of Flanders since Eddy Merckx in 1975, in what was also the fastest edition in history, while Lotte Kopecky became only the second woman in history to take back-to-back titles.
History made then. We're going to give you a very brief history of this race before we get on to this year's routes. 2024 marks the 20th edition of the women's and the 108th of the men's, which was first raced all the way back in 1913.
Belgians have been by far the most successful in the men's race over that time, 69 wins to date. The next best are the Dutch on 11 wins, Italy as well on 11, and then a big gap to Switzerland, who have 4.
3 of those courtesy of Fabian Cancellara,
Yeah.
of course. Mathieu van der Poel has a chance to match Cancellara this year and, in fact, equal the record because nobody's ever won this race more than 3 times. So he'd also be joining the likes of Johan Museo, Tom Bone and 3 others who've taken 3 victories through their careers.
Yeah, in the women's, there are 4 riders who have won the race twice in its shorter history. So Lotte Kopecky has the chance to be the most successul rider ever at the Women's Tour of Flanders.
You wouldn't bet against it.
No, you wouldn't, would you?
Right, on to the route. We're going to start with the men's. At 270.4 Ks, it's a little way short of the 320k epic from 1914, but it's actually above the average for this race. They start in Antwerp, as they have done since 2017, and they finish in Oudenaarde since the controversial move from Nineveh in 2012.
There are a few changes to the first 100Ks this year. So according to race director Scott Sunderland, the changes are for safety reasons. They're staying on wide main roads as much as possible.
Yeah, it wasn't that there were too many narrow roads in that first part of the race previously, but I guess just enough for the race to be slowed down by the teams that want to make things a little bit easier for themselves to control, so we say. So it might be for safety, it might be for the benefit of the race.
Well, I don't know, yeah. I mean, that sounds like if you stick on faster roads, you just go faster and faster and everyone gets more and more knackered.
Well, I mean, you know what modern day cycling's like. They can keep it going for 270 km.
Well, yeah, good point, yeah.
Anyway, having it on constantly wide roads at the start could well mean it takes a really long time for the early breakaway of the day to go clear.
Yeah, now this is good news for those of you who have the time to watch the race from start to finish. Yeah, you're working on it as well, though, aren't you?
I know, I am, but as you know, even if I wasn't working on it, I'd be watching from start to finish.
This is true. Anyway, the first of the 7 flat stretches of cobbles comes after 104 Ks. So that's the Lippenhovenstraat, quickly followed by the Paterstraat. But things get really serious on the approach to the Kwaremont, which is the first of the 17 categorised climbs of the day.
If you would like a reminder of how hectic that approach to the Kwaremont is, you need only look back to last year, where Philippe Machajuk took down half of the peloton as he tried to make up some positions on the side of the road.
Yeah, the poor bloke is never going to live that down.
Unfortunately not.
No, but yes, anyway, that is how stressed everyone is when they're trying to get into position for the first of the 3 ascents of the Quermont, which comes at almost the exact midpoint of the race, so 135 kilometres in.
They do get a little bit of respite over the top of that climb, though. They don't do the Paterberg on that particular occasion, but rather they skirt back round towards Oudenaarde. So it's around 20 kilometres between the Quermont and the next of the climbs on the day.
Yes, which is the infamous Molenberg, which comes with almost exactly 100k to go. And I think that's where you can say that the final really starts in earnest.
Yes, you can. We don't have a full peloton there. Definitely not by that point in the race. But there's still likely going to be quite a fight, I would say, into that left-hander, the famous one by the mill, and on some pretty rough cobbles of the Molenberg.
You say the famous one. I think, in terms of the world of cycling, it's probably not that famous. Is this just because you love the Tour of Flanders and you know every inch of it inside out?
The famous mill at the bottom of the Molenberg. Surely everyone knows about that. Anyway, from there, things come in very quick succession. You have the Marlborough-Strat, the Berendries and the Valkenburg. They do all 3 of those in the space of just 10 kilometres. And then it's on to Berg ten Outer, which has been quite a key climb, I would say, over the last couple of editions.
Yeah, understandably, given its maximum gradient of 21%. So it's around that point where we've seen a few riders anticipating. Recently. Yeah, so basically trying to get ahead of the game, or at least ahead of the big favourites. Yeah. So last year, one of those riders up the roads was Mads Pedersen. But it's hard to imagine him being given the same freedom, isn't it, this time around, given the form that we've seen him in?
Well, it's not like he was a bad rider last year or the year before.
Well, that's true, no.
This form, like you said, this year, it might be difficult for him. The second ascent of the Quermont comes after 214 Ks, and it was there that Pogacar put in a searing acceleration last year, which nobody was able to follow. From there, it's a quick loop round to tackle the Paterberg for the first time.
Yeah, and that is a climb that looked like it may have to be removed this year due to a landslide. Thankfully, though, Belgium being a country where cycling is very high on the priority list, it was fixed and was already used last Friday in E3.
What a relief.
Indeed, yeah.
So after that, where there was another subtle change to the route.
The Koppenberg, it's been done for safety reasons, so cutting out the descent and the sharp turn which normally precede the climb.
Which I can't imagine is going to please Dylan van Baarle, because that is a section of road that he often uses for attacks. He must have done it about 10 times. I mean, that's an exaggeration. Anyway, it shouldn't make a huge difference to the way that the race plays out on Sunday. The Koppenberg probably will be, though, with its gradients in excess of 22%.
Oh, I mean, I think part of what makes the Koppenberg feel so special is that it's only used at the Tour of Flanders. So most of the other climbs are used a lot, aren't they, in early season races, but that one isn't. It's like sacrosanct.
It is. We're going to tell you what the forecast for Sunday is later. But if that road is wet, we're probably going to be witnessing quite a few riders walking up there. Northern Europe hasn't had much sunshine recently.
No.
So there's quite a decent likelihood that there will be wet roads, even if it's not raining.
Indeed, yeah. Following the Koppenberg, there's a quick descent down to the main road just outside of Oudenaarde, which normally allows the riders a little bit of respite before they tackle another succession of cobbles and climbs.
They being the Maria Borrestrat, the famous Maria Borrestrat.
Oh, the infamous Maria Borrestrat.
Steenbeek-Dries and the Stationsberg. None of them particularly hard in their own right, but after 230 Ks of racing, they're going to sting.
Yeah, although perhaps not as much as the Tijnberg, which comes after 233 kilometres of racing. And that's where Van der Poel dropped his chain last year and had to chase back on.
There are 3 climbs left after they've tackled the Tijnberg, they being the Oude Kruisberg, which is where Wout van Aert was distanced last year by Pogacar and Van der Poel. And also the same climb, which Sai here flew up in 2016 whilst we were filming there.
Yeah.
To this day, I checked it earlier, to this day, only one rider has ever gone faster you up there, at least it's uploaded to Strava, and only by 1 second at that. And it was Sonny Colbrelli when he came second at Omloop 2 years ago.
I mean, I'll be honest, Dan, I'd forgotten about that, but, you know, now you bring it up, I'll take that.
Yeah, well, I would.
I mean, I wonder what they've all been doing going up there.
What they've been doing is racing before they get there, rather than putting everything into that old
chestnut
with a lead out.
Oh, I'm a bit tired. I've already done 250 kilometres. Yeah, all right, whatever. Anyway, they go straight over to the Hotonde after that, don't they? And after that, it is the final familiar but brutal, I think we can say infamous, double punch of the Quermont and the Paterberg for one final time. Then from the top of that last climb, it's a 13-kilometre, mainly flat run-in back into the outskirts of Oudenaarde, where the finish is.
Simple as that then.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Right, just before we get on to the women's race, which starts and finishes in Oudenaarde, a quick plug for our own shop. You're going to find a range of T-shirts and sweatshirts there designed to celebrate quite a lot of the early season classics.
Oh, yeah.
2 of them here, but also some of the stage races as well. Thanks to all of you who've already made a purchase this year. We are truly thankful for that. But if you'd like to take a look and even make a purchase, you can find the whole range over on shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com.
Yeah, we will also have a whole load of content over the next couple of weeks on our website around Tour of Flanders, Paris-Roubaix, plus Dwars Tour of Vlaanderen and the Schelde Prijs too. So keep your eyes peeled for all of that. We also have a newcomer's guide. So top 10 cycling climbs of Flanders, riders to watch, men's and women's previews, as well as key rider interviews as well.
There's going to be a lot to read.
Oh, yeah.
On to the women's route then, which is similar to what they've tackled over the past few years. So there's only 9 Ks until they get to their first stretch of cobbles, but the first serious ones are the same as the men's, basically. The Lippenhovenstraat, followed by the Paterstraat. They've got 7 cobbled sectors over their 163k race, the flat ones, and then 12 climbs, the first of which is the Wolvenberg, after 72 Ks.
The first, sorry, Dan, I'm talking over the top of you there. The first really tough climb is the Molenberg.
With the famous mill at the foot, and that left-hand turn.
There was something in the commentary under E3 about the famous mushroom. Where's the famous mushroom?
Even I don't know about the famous mushroom.
Adam Blythe knows about the famous mushroom.
Oh, maybe it was unrelated to the race then.
No, it was. It was at the bottom of one of the climbs. It's like, it's the mushroom. That was where. Anyway, so there we go. There's a lot of famous landmarks.
Yeah, well, I'm getting this knowledge.
Poor old Dan's come unstuck here. The mushroom. Oh my God, I need to Google this. Anyway, after the, where are we? 85 kilometres. Yeah. What climb was it we were talking about? The Molenberg. Oh, yeah, the infamous Molenberg. After which the race spends a while tracing the same route as the men's. 118 kilometres in, they will then be on the Koppenberg, which caused all sorts of issues last year. Yeah, as Kopecky lost grip towards the top, meaning that a lot of people had to walk up.
Ironically, she was fine. She jumps back on pretty quickly and just caused havoc behind her.
Pro move, that, isn't it?
It is, yeah, well, maybe deliberate. Anyway, after the Koppen, I mean, that was genuinely a joke. I don't mean that at all. After the Koppenberg, it is exactly the same route as the men's race that we have already described. So Tijnberg, Kruisberg, Quaremont and Paterberg being the main obstacles over the last part of the women's race.
Now, all that talk of Koppenberg, shall we do Weather Watch?
Oh, we can do. Yeah, let's go for it.
All right, so we won't dwell on it too long because we're recording this on a Monday, so it could all change by the time we get to Sunday. But currently, it looks like it will be cloudy but dry. Wind speed around 20 k's an hour. Temperatures up to 16 degrees.
Quite pleasant by Tour of Flanders standards, really, isn't it?
20 k an hour, it's not really enough to...
It'll have a bearing, but not as much as...
Not echelons, just fatigue.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, one of those.
Right, time to talk riders then, I think. So on the men's side, we'll start by talking about the rider who's not here. And that was last year's winner, Tadej Pogacar.
His absence does change the race significantly, doesn't it? Last year, everyone was aware that UAE would take control of the race, at least when they needed to, and that Pogacar would, under normal circumstances, take the race on himself. But without him, there'll be more responsibility on the likes of Visma Lease Bike and Alpecin-Deceuninck,
who have the big 2 favourites for the win between them. So Mathieu van der Poel, understandably, starts as the outright favourite with the bookmakers. So he's ridden this race 5 times, should I say, won it twice, and never been outside of the top 4. I mean, I think those stats, combined with recent form, suggest there's a pretty decent chance that he's going to be there or thereabouts again.
Yeah, average or above, I'd say. The advantage Van der Poel has is, like Pogacar, his team is built entirely around him. So Jasper Philipsen and Søren Kragh Andersen will help him as deep into the finale as they can, but there probably won't be thoughts of trying to win themselves.
Probably not, no, which is in contrast, I think, to Visma Lease Bike, who have been able to play the numbers game over the last year or two. Now, of course, most eyes from that team, or from other teams, are going to be on Wout van Aert, but with Benoot, Van Baarle and now Jorgensen as well, they have a number of riders who could win the race if they anticipate and move early.
Indeed, anticipation. That old chestnut, isn't it? That's what you did, wasn't it? 2009, anticipated things.
Oh, we did, yes.
Yeah, you did, went early onto the Koppenberg, I remember that.
Yeah, I think I invented anticipation.
You probably did, actually, mate, yeah.
Only because my teammate told me to go up the road.
Well, that's all right. Following instructions.
Yes.
That's a good skill for a pro cyclist. Anyway, Jan Tratnik is yet another card that they could play. Thankfully, he didn't have any major injuries from what looks to be a nasty crash in Gent-Wevelgem at the weekend.
I'm surprised to read that, actually. Yeah, it did look like a nasty crash.
The other team who could have numbers to play are Little Trek. So Pedersen, Stuyven and Milan also played a pivotal role in their win at Gent-Wevelgem and all look to have reached peak form just the right time.
Half the battle. Really.
Yeah.
And you can add in Tom Schoench as well. He's been flying already this season. And that is a team I think we can all say is to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like we said earlier, I wouldn't have thought Pedersen will get the leeway to move early in the race this year. But then that might open things up for Thomas Schoen or Jasper Stuyven to do exactly that on Sunday.
Yeah, making Alpecin's job even more challenging. And you really could imagine it being hard for them to control it, couldn't you?
Yeah, this is why Van der Poel needs to go with 200 k's to go.
Van der Poel needs to anticipate himself.
Very wide, open, flat, very safe road at the start of the race.
Well, there we go. Right. The next favourite with the bookies is actually Matej Mohoric of Bahrain Victorious, who also have Fred Wright on their team as well. Somewhat surprisingly, Mohoric's best result in this race is 21st, whilst Wright was 7th here a couple of years ago.
I was surprised as well about that. I think a podium would be an excellent result for either of them, wouldn't it?
Yep.
On the same roads, or same odds, I should say, as Mohoric is Tim Wellens at 40-1. He'll be leading UAE's charge in Pogacar's absence and will almost certainly be there or thereabouts.
Antonio Morgado could be an interesting one for them as well. He's admitted he doesn't like cobbled races.
No, I don't like this type of races.
But he seems pretty good at them, poor guy. Yeah, so...
He was Pollitt as well, haven't they, at UAE? So.
That's right, yeah. Stefan Kung has been 6th and 5th in the last 2 years. He will lead Groupama FDJ. But strangely, Lawrence Pithy isn't on the provisional start list for them, despite his form this year.
Yeah, not the provisional one. I mean, you'd have thought that they're going to take him.
You would have thought, wouldn't you?
Even if that wasn't the original plan, because he was fantastic at the very start of the season in Australia. Then he was brilliant at Kuurne and Gent-Wevelgem. Anyway, Spanish champion Oya Lascano will lead Movistar's charge. He's been also great at one-day races so far this season, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's great to see a Spanish champion so motivated for the cobbled races as well, isn't it? The first Ineos rider you get down to when looking at the odds is Jonathan Narvaez at 80-1. I mean, they have never focused on the cobbled classics in quite the same way as the Grand Tours, but it always used to feel like they were in with a shot, at least, didn't it?
Yeah, they've won Roubaix once, haven't they? But yeah, this year it doesn't look like they're going to get anywhere close to winning Flanders.
No.
Very hard to see them threaten the podium spots, at least put it that way. Ben Turner and Magnus Sheffield will also be there for them, but it's Josh Tarling, I think I'm really interested in seeing. He will have done Dwars door Vlaanderen by the time that this video comes out, which will be his first cobble race of this season. But we know how strong that lad is, and he's only going to get better.
Well, yeah, maybe if he anticipates, Dan, goes long. But frankly, Roubaix is probably better suited to him,
probably right.
As long as he can handle the cobbles. Now, it would have been unfathomable just a couple of years ago to have got this far through the men's start list and not mentioned Soudal Quickstep. However, things seem to be going from bad to worse for them over the last couple of years when it comes to the cobbled classics.
It's a real shame, isn't it, in many respects. So Kasper Asgreen is the Soudal rider with the lowest odds, but no fewer than 5 Visma Lease Bike riders have shorter odds than Kasper Asgreen.
Wow. I mean, that is particularly surprising given that he won this race just 3 years ago. To be fair, he hasn't really looked too good in the last couple of weeks either, has he? Alaphilippe, Moscon and Lampard are all quality riders that also seem to be underperforming at the moment, don't they? So if they are going to turn it around, they need to do it quite quickly.
It's that sort of thing that one of Patrick Lefebvre's teams would do, isn't it?
Or turn it around.
Go and win Flanders or Roubaix.
Yeah.
Other former winners on the start list are Alexander Kristoff of Uno X and Alberto Bettiol of EF. So Bettiol crashed out of E3 last Friday, but his ride at San Remo suggests he's on good form. They've also got Paulus and Falgren, whilst Arnaud Delis and Victor Campenaerts lead Lotto Destiny. Yeah,
Delis had a rough season so far, hasn't he? Oliver Narsson and Dylan Toombs are also worth mentioning for Decathlon and Israel Premier Tech, respectively.
Just while we're talking about Belgian riders, the last time that they won the Tour of Flanders, obviously their home race, was 2017 now. I'm pretty sure that's the longest drought they've ever had since the race started in 1913. On the women's side, Well, they've won it for the last 2 years, of course. Lotte Kopecky is their new superstar, and she has already had a significant impact on junior women's participation in the sport, which is absolutely great to see. So she will start as the big favourite in the women's race this Sunday, and few would bet against her taking a record 3rd win.
Particularly given the strength of her SD Works Pro Time team. Demi Vollering was second here last year, whilst Vibes has looked stronger than ever on the cobbles so far in 2024. Without doubt, they are the team to beat.
And we've not even mentioned Marlon Rosa, have we?
No.
Who's yet another powerhouse on their roster. It's kind of an embarrassment of riches
that
they've got, isn't it? That said, Lidl Trek, like their men's squad, have a few cars to play as well. So Longa Borghini, who won here in 2015, looks very much like she's back to her best this year. And I think the same could be said for former world champion Elisa Balsamo, who won Brugge de Panne last week before pushing Vibes very close in that sprint finish at Gent-Wevelgem on Sunday.
Yeah, and then you add in Shirin van Anrooy, Lizzie Deignan, Ellen van Dijk, and possibly Lucinda Brandt as well.
Yeah, provisional start list, of course, but I think fairly likely that most of those riders will be there. It at least makes it easier for them with those numbers, in theory at least, to cover all the moves that SD Works are very likely to make. But it's going to be a very interesting battle.
Or they've got the numbers to anticipate.
Well, yes.
Haven't they?
Right, beyond those two super teams, I'm really looking forward to seeing how Puk Pieterse gets on. She seems to be getting better and better on the road, as you'd expect, really, given that she's hardly done any of it so far. She's obviously a very talented bike rider.
Well, indeed, yeah. Visma Lease Bike will have Marianne Vos, who is another rider back to her best, I think, this year, isn't it?
Cobbles, yeah.
Yeah, this will be her 12th participation at the race that she won in 2013. It was a long time ago, isn't it? And we're hoping that Fem van Empel will also be competing. She'd been supposed to start Gent-Wevelgem on Sunday, but fell ill, unfortunately, in the week leading up to it.
Canyon SRAM had 3 riders in the top 13 of this race last year, including Elise Chabot and Kasia Niewiadoma. Hard to see them winning this race, but a podium certainly isn't out of reach. Hopefully we'll also get to see Zoe Bagstedt. She's been building up after recovering from what was quite a big winter of cyclocross on her side.
Yeah, we should remember as well that she's only 19, shouldn't we? And one of a number of cyclocross stars that we've just mentioned who should be at home on the Koppenberg, given that they race up it, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
Cheeky little advantage.
That would be embarrassing if they walked, wouldn't it?
Yeah, good point. Right. Canyon SRAM have also got Chloe Dygart, we should mention, shouldn't we?
Yes, they have. She blows a bit hot and cold. She's one of those riders where you wouldn't be surprised if she went solo and won this race by 2 minutes. That's the kind of thing she's capable of. You also wouldn't be surprised if she came 57th.
No, that's very true, actually, isn't it? Phoenix de Koning field a team of cyclocross specialists who could pull out a surprise, couldn't they? While Sylvia Persico will lead UAE.
Emma Norsgaard and Arlena Sierra will do exactly the same thing from Movistar, whilst Pfeiffer Georgie will be the team leader at DSM Firmenich post-NL. She keeps progressing, Pfeiffer Georgie, doesn't see year on year, so don't count her out.
Now, I think that just about covers it, doesn't it?
Yeah, not everyone, of course, but most.
Yeah, it's just a question of counting down the days now until Sunday. Ahead of that, though, time for our predictions.
Right. Well, you nailed both winners of Strade, didn't you?
Yes.
But then I did better of the two of us at San Remo.
Did you?
So I think that would...
As in you were less bad at San Remo?
Well, I think that means it's 1-1 so far this year.
You guessed third, and my pick basically won the race for his teammate.
Yeah, and your female pick also won the female race.
No, as in it's Milan San Remo.
San Remo.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, still 1-1.
All right.
You did better on the first preview show, Strade Bianche, and I did the better on the second preview
You
show.
did less badly on Milan San Remo. Yeah, okay. Right, anyway.
Sorry about that. We just had a bit of a heated discussion about whether or not we are 1-1. You can let us know in the comments. Anyway,
we're not 1-1, are we?
Well, we are. Are you going to go first?
Well, I will.
I will let you go first on this prediction.
All right, no, that's very kind of you. I'm going to go for Wout van Aert, okay, and Lotte Kopecky. So Kopecky, because she is the outright favourite, and I'm going first. Wout van Aert, I think I just felt so sorry for him after E3, picking himself up like that. And clearly he's got good legs because he kind of nearly brought Van der Poel back. I don't know. I just feel like now the tables have turned so much against him that I kind of want him to win something.
No, I do as well, totally. Because I think especially being Belgian and with everyone knowing how talented he is, how many races he's won, but he's never won a cobbled monument.
No.
He can't finish his career without, I just would be so disappointed for him.
Yeah.
So So yeah, good choices.
Thanks, mate.
That would be double delight for Belgium, which has never happened in the
Is that right? In the last 20 years?
No, they've never won the race on both the men's and the women's side on the same year. Well, I will then go for Mathieu van der Poel and Elisa Longo-Borghini.
Oh, really?
On the women's side. Yes, I'd like to see her win.
And you think Van der Poel can get one over the combined power of Visma, Lisa Bike and Little Trek?
I think it's good for him that there are two teams with numbers. Unless, of course, one from each team's got up the road and he's got a problem. But you know what it's like now. You know, he's going to go from so far out that I think even anyone that does anticipate is not going to be that far up the road. Because it already happened last year and Pogacar effectively brought them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Borghini?
I had my doubts as to whether she would get back to her best this year. I've been delighted to see that she has. And so I'd like to see her take a second Tour of Flanders. Would it be 9 years after the first?
Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
All right, thank you, as ever, for watching. Enjoy it wherever you're watching from this coming Sunday. I'm going to see you again for next week's Paris-Roubaix preview, but I will say goodbye for now.
I'll say bye as well then, shall I?
Yeah, nice one.